Hi friends, this is CC and welcome to Hobby Hands. In this vlog, we're going to turn this into this. Yes, we're going to do a build of this, which is an Academy 1/72 scale model of the A-18A Plus, the Hornet, and the kit number is 12520. Beautiful aircraft. So let's have a look at what's inside the box firstly. We've got the instruction manual, and we've got about 4 or 5 grey sprues, and 1 clear plastic sprue, and of course there's a big decal sheet. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is the interior of the aircraft of the FA-18. And it's this page here, which includes the seats and cockpit tub and a bit of the main fuselage, or the interior parts of the main fuselage, where we need to cut out and start painting. So let's get started. And we also need these 2 couple of bits which form the sides of the aircraft. So the interior of the aircraft is mostly a dark grey or grey or light grey mixture and some black. Okay, so once I've painted the interior parts, I give all the interior parts a gloss clear varnish. And here I'm painting the parts, the interior parts with white. These are all the parts that need that white color. Okay friends, what we're going to do next is to put decals onto the instrument panel and the cockpit area. I painted the instrument panel, and look at this decal sheet. It's a lot of them, a lot of decals for weapons and everything. And a bit of decal softener, some decals for the ejection seats, and also for the cockpit tub. Okay, we will also put some wash on the interior parts like the seats and the cockpit tub, and after that I use a cotton bud and some thinner to clean off the excess. For the dark colored parts like the seats, what I do next is to actually give it a quick dry brush, which picks up the raised areas, and then the details come out. I'm just using a bit of white paint there, and I put paint on the seats as well. So now once all that's done, I give the interior parts a flat clear varnish. And then I put the parts together. This is the ejection seat, it's the joystick, This particular Hornet is only a single seater, so that we only need to build one seat. What I do next is to deepen all the panel lines on this model. Whilst the molding is all crisp and has got recessed panel lines, I like my panel lines to be a little bit deeper, which is good for the wash later. At this stage, one thing we have to do for this particular model is to clean off a mold line on the main canopy. So as you can see there is actually, due to the molding process, there is a raised panel line there which we need to now clean off. So first thing we do is to tape the areas beside the mold line with some masking tape so that they don't get damaged, and we start sanding. The first sander that I use is a 600 grit, which will take most of the material off. As I sand, I also run my nails over the area to see whether there's still a line there. And then I use the 800 grit next, and this is a 2000 grit. And then this is a 6000 grit, and finally I use a 10,000 grit for this one to clean it off to make it as smooth as possible. So to finish off then, firstly we'll take off the masking tape, and we're going to use polishing compound. You can see that the plastic is a little bit crazed, so the polishing compound will remove this craze on the clear plastic. So put the polishing compound directly onto the part, and then use this polishing sponge. So there's a rough blue part, and then the white part is like a rubber smooth part. So we'll do the rougher blue sponge first. And the first compound that we used was a coarse one. This one is a fine compound. Same thing, repeat the process. Do the same thing again. This is a finish compound for the finest grit, and it's very smooth. And we use the sponge at the end. The best thing is when you're doing this, if you can hear some squeaks, that means you're doing it right. Here you go. The line is gone. Alright, so as you can see, I've built most of the Hornets now, and the interior has been placed into the aircraft, and we have attached the wings. So what I am looking for now is to see where we need to put putty on this particular aircraft. This is most of the aircraft already done. What I'm doing here is I'm just painting some of the pieces which will go into the canopy or go under the canopy and will be covered up by the canopy, so we need to paint them and detail them first. I'm also painting the exhaust parts and also the cockpit area, which will be covered up by the canopy, and then we won't be able to paint them. Alright, so we can see that this aircraft will have its landing gear about here. So this aircraft has also got a big tail, so I'm not too sure, it might be a bit tail heavy. Just to be safe, I'm going to put some weights in the nose cone and then use some CA glue to hold the weights together. Alright, this step, what we're doing is getting the clear parts and dipping it into pledge floor polish, which coats the clear plastic and makes it shiny, so that it looks like glass. So we shake off the excess and then we blot off whatever that's left on a kitchen towel, like that. And we place it into a little box. And we'll cover that after we're done so that dust doesn't settle on the pieces. So same thing again. For this one, we shake off the excess. And then whatever's left, blot it off on the paper. Here we go. Alright. Now back to looking at where we need to put putty. This is a pretty well designed model because the joint lines are all hidden and they actually form pretty natural panel lines, so we don't really need to hide them. There's nothing to hide, so as there's no actual seam. The other thing I want to show you is, look at this. Look at the wing. So that's the wing root here. And the angle of the wing root and the angle of the wingtip is quite different. The angle of the wing root is pretty flat. And if you look at the wingtip here, it's angled downwards. This is in the actual aircraft. This is called washout, and it helps to stabilize the aircraft. Well done to Academy for actually modeling this into this kit. Alright, the instructions calls out for some parts to be filled out with putty. These are little holes. Probably in a different version of this model, these holes will be used, but not in this particular A-18A+. The other thing that I need to putty is actually just the joint lines for the, these are the external fuel tanks. It's probably the only part of the aircraft that has very visible joint lines. Alright, now we have done all the putty and the putty is dry, so we just need to sand off the putty. This little part here, there was a little bit of putty because this particular variant doesn't use whatever was molded onto the aircraft and had to sand it off and cut it. On this side as well. So again, I start with a 600 grit, followed by 800 grit, and then a 2000 grit, and probably just a 6000 grit to finish off. So same as the other, I'll do the same to the parts that had putty put on. This big sanding stick is a 600 grit, and it works very well to remove material very quickly. At this stage, what we're going to do is install the clear pieces onto the aircraft. So the pledge floor polish has now dried off. So I've actually installed the heads-up display already, and now we're installing the front canopy on the front windshield. And these are the parts that go inside the canopy. The fit here is awesome. And now I need to mask the aircraft, like the wheel wells and the canopy area. So let's start the masking. So I like to use a long piece like that so that we get a straight line, and then we use a toothpick to remove all the air bubbles so that the paint doesn't seep under the masking tape. I usually take my time with this one. Now, with a very sharp blade, we cut along the frame lines so that we can remove the parts of the masking tape and expose the frame lines for painting. I emphasize the sharp blade because it will give you a very clean cut. Alright friends, the canopy is now all masked up. Now we need to do a bit of masking for the camouflage as well. As you can see, there's a little bit of white on the aircraft. So I've got to paint that little part there white, which I've done, and now what I've done is I'm painting the bottom fuselage color, which is a light ghost gray. Okay, now the underside of the Hornet is painted. So what I need to do now is to start to mask off certain areas so we can paint the upper side. So if you look at this area here, there's actually a little design here, which is like a little oval, which is in the upper colors. So I've got to mask off And also the other area that we need to mask or pay attention to is the front. So if you can see, the upper color actually stops there on the side view, but on the top view it says that the upper color goes all the way to the nose. So I'm actually going to just mask it off up to probably just behind the nose. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and recreate that camouflage, I guess, or that pattern on the tail, which is that oval shape. There's also a tiny bit of masking that we need to do on the upper part of the horizontal tail fin. So what we do is get a piece of tape big enough to form that oval. Tip it on. Again, the handy toothpick to remove the air bubbles. Okay. Now, I use a Gundam marker to do a freehand line to simulate that oval there, and also the little bit on top of the elevator. Okay, so what I do next is to remove that masking tape slowly and carefully. Lay it on the cutting mat and with a blade cut around those lines that we drew with the marker. Remove the part that we need to paint in the upper colors. So what we do here is just to replace the masking tape back onto the aircraft, but this time with that portion of it that has been cut out and removed. And now we do that the same for the upper part. It's actually just a very tiny sliver of masking tape that we need to put back in. So what we're covering up with that tiny masking tape is the part that needs to be in the light ghost grey color. And the upper surface of this aircraft will be in a dark ghost grey. A bit of fiddling, but the results will be great. So this is what it will look like. Just show you a little bit of what I do for the front as well. I'll mask it up to there, Okay, and then finish it off with the full masking. As you can see, I've actually masked off the whole underside of the aircraft and those bits that I created. So here we go, we'll paint it now with the dark ghost grey. I usually do a couple of light coats. Okay, I've taken off all the masking now, and what I'm doing is giving the whole aircraft a clear gloss varnish as we prepare to now put decals and also panel line wash. Okay, friends, the FA or the Hornet has now been coated with a clear varnish, gloss varnish that is, and what we do is we will now start with the panel line wash. So I've divided it into 3 groups. Those white parts will get a grey panel line wash. The vertical tail fin, which is in red, will get a brown panel line wash, and everything else, which is the greys and the greens and everything else, will get a black panel line wash. I'll just show you a little bit of what I do. This is the brown panel line wash. And now we are using the black panel line wash, and that's for most of the aircraft. Okay, the panel line wash has now dried off, and what we're going to do is now clean off the splodges, and I use cotton buds and some thinner, and just do that. Notice that I'm doing the cleaning action in the line of flight, which is front to back, and that's to give it, in case and there's any wash still left, it will look like streaks and it will look natural. There shouldn't be a lot of streaks, but if there is, it will look natural that way. Alright, time to put on decals. Just showing you that there's a lot of decals. Again, a lot of little templates, and I think we use most of these decals. So I'll just show you one. The decals are really nice, very bright colors and very well aligned and well printed. The colors are very consistent. Alright, use a cotton bud to remove the bubbles. And then just a tiny bit of decal softener. Okay, now all the decals are on. What I'm doing here is giving the whole aircraft another coat of another coat or two of gloss clear varnish. This is to protect the decals. Alright, now that I've finished with the gloss clear varnish, I'm giving the aircraft now a coat or two of flat clear varnish. This will be the final flat coat. I like my aircraft all in a flat finish. There you go. Now laid out all the parts for you to see. Everything has been given the flat coat. So what we need to do now is to go through these bits, and there's actually quite a few sub-assemblies that we need to do before the aircraft can be completed. So the first thing that I'm going to do is paint in the orientation lights. So there's orientation lights on the top, and there's also at the bottom there. The decal that came with the kit was in the wrong shape, so I didn't use that, and I'm just painting on the orientation lights myself. So we start off with a silver backing, followed by either the clear red or clear blue on top. Same with the lights on the top. There you go, that's done. Also need to paint, this is the arrestor hook. The arrestor hook, the metal bit at the end is actually painted in silver. So I'm doing here. So there's a light on the tail of the aircraft as well, here. So I'm gonna do is again same thing. I think it's a red light, but what we do is do the silver first, and then when it's dry, then we put on the red coat. Alright, if you see the landing gear doors here, I've actually given all the edges a red color already, as meant to be, as called out in the instructions. So now we need to install the exhaust. So if you can see here, you need to actually have, there's two halves, and I've painted the inside with white and given it the wash. And this is the engine exhaust. So you have to pay attention to this one because there's a notch on one end of that little cylinder, and there's two notches on the other end. So one end is for the actual engine side, and the other end is for the actual nozzle. So this is the single notch, which is for the engine. And now we stick on the nozzle. This is the one with the two notches. Perfect, the fit is amazing. Alright, what I'm going to do next is the landing gear sub-assemblies. I'm going to attach a part of the landing gear door, very small one. If you look closely, I've actually painted the edges of that red as well. Alright, what I'm doing here is installing or attaching the little light that goes on the front landing gear. Very detailed kit. There you go, there's the light. Alright, now we do the main landing gears. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is install all the small bits and pieces. There's hinges and there's little, I don't know what they are, grills. Like this one, this is a little grill. And this one here is a hinge, probably for the flap. They're tiny. And they're all in grey, so I gotta be careful that you don't lose them. Alright, I'm now attaching the exhaust or the thrusters. And now I'm starting to put in the landing gears. The fit is perfect. The main landing gear also has a little brace. Okay, now that we have put in the landing gears, it's time to now attach the landing gear doors. Again, just showing you that all the edges have been painted red. So the only bit that we need to fill in now is the little bit that was attached to the sprue. As we cut it off, it's raw plastic, and we just use a sharp toothpick and put in. Okay, now that the red paint has dried, let's start installing. The detail on this aircraft, or the detail on this kit, is awesome. There you go, it's almost all done on the landing gear side. Okay, now we come back and paint in the actual light colors, which is red on one side and blue on the other side. We paint in the lights on the tail fin as well. Notice I've painted at the back of the tail fin little silver lights, and one side gets a red light. Alright, time to install the weapons. So firstly we'll install the pylons. Make sure that the pylon sits at the correct angle. This is the bombs. We attach the bomb to the, I guess this is a ejector rack. There's two to each, two bombs to each rack. As you can see, the bombs and the missiles, if you have a close look, the bombs and the missiles get really detailed decals as well, and they look amazing. Alright, I'm now attaching the Sparrow missile. This sits at the bottom of the aircraft. Like that. Again, the fit and parts are all very nicely molded, and the fit is almost perfect. Alright, just putting in the external fuel tanks. I've done the centerline fuel tank, and this is the fuel tank on the wing stations. Putting on the bombs onto the pylon. Just making sure that the angle is correct. Alright, and lastly, attaching the side, these are the Sidewinder missiles to the wingtips. Again, just make sure that the angle looks right. Okay, that's probably all the parts now done, except for the two tail fins. That's what we're doing now, just attaching the tail fins. and just making sure that the angle is correct. So the way it's molded, the angle has already been molded into the tail fin itself, so all you just have to make sure is there's no gaps as you attach the tail fins. The other thing I like to do is just to measure the distance like that and make sure that the other side is the same. They're consistent. So this makes it, this says that the tail fins and the elevators are at the correct angle, or at least they're at a consistent angle. Alright, last bit that we need to do is to remove the masking on the canopy. It's getting exciting because the final finish model will come out soon. Take your time with this part, as you don't want to ruin the finish of the aircraft. A small accident can spoil the whole however many hours work. I've done that time and time again before. You can see that the clear pieces are still really shiny. And we are done. Top view, side view, and bottom view. Three-quarter front view, three-quarter rear view, the tail, view from the nose. Okay, so final thoughts for this aircraft and model kit. This is a beautiful aircraft. It looks like it really means business. As for the model kit by Academy, it is a beautiful representation of the model. The fit is really good. Details are plentiful. The decals are so detailed, even for the weapons, as you can see, and also on the aircraft. Really happy with the result, and here you go. Well friends, hope you've enjoyed this vlog. Please subscribe to my channel, and please give me a like. And thank you very much for watching.